Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to another episode of the No BS Human Design Podcast. I am so stoked because tomorrow is the day I officially leave for our in-person retreat in Florida. Myself and Viola have put months and months of effort into this retreat. I mean, we officially started talking about it last December, and I think we officially committed to it around January or February of this current year. So it's been like 10 months, 11 months in the making. And I'm just really excited to immerse myself in it, to just see every part of our vision come to life, to see these women walk away totally different human beings. We have all 8 women that we visualized in our hearts and our minds, and I'm so thrilled that they are taking this adventure with us to be on my first ever in-person retreat. I've had a lot of requests to do them up locally where I am in Massachusetts. I will tell you, this was a lot of effort for my tiny team, even with a partner. So I don't know the next time I will do this, but I am listening and I do hear your request to do it in Massachusetts or in New England, somewhere drivable for my friends here locally. So I hear you. I am processing that. Who knows what 2025 will bring? So stay tuned for that. And today is a really cool conversation with an expert I really look up to. And to be honest, I am just like blown away that she's on my podcast because she is like a fucking star. I am, within the human design community that I'm in with my human design mentor, this person that I have on today, this wonderful woman, is an expert in that community. And I've watched her videos through that community and I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, I'd love to talk about more money on the podcast. You seem to love when I talk about money on the podcast. So please tell me if you want more money stuff, and I will focus on getting more money energetics and money human design on the podcast. And then, I don't know, like a month later, after I started watching her trainings in my community, not my community, the community I'm in, just for reference. I was reached out to by her assistant, I want to say, or someone for her PR, something like that. And they were trying to get her on my podcast. And that was a really huge moment for me because I was like, holy shit, the spiritual investor wants to be on my podcast. Like, this feels so big. So it was a really cool moment for me, for me to be able to respond in that moment, and I didn't have to force, I didn't have to initiate anything. I was just feeling her vibe, and the universe was like, oh, cool, you like that, like maybe we'll give you more of her. And then she landed in my inbox. So today I want to introduce you to a really cool person named Elizabeth Ralph. She is known as the spiritual investor, and she brings a really grounded energy to money that I think you will really love, especially when it comes to energy. Because I mean, she is a high level wealth strategist and former energy trader who connects the energy of money with real finance and investing. So we're taking the spiritual, quantum, I guess, side of money and combining it with like realistic goals and things that you really can be doing with your money to enhance your well-being. She focuses on guiding growth-minded individuals to overcome their limiting beliefs about money and become confident investors with consistent passive income, so they have more time and energy to focus on what truly lights them up. So we are talking about quantum wealth and abundance. We're talking about money neutrality, because I know money neutrality is a hot topic with us in this community, because we're all in this space of like, we don't want to work harder. We want to love our money and let our money work for us. And how can we desensitize ourselves and our nervous system to money? And that is one of the biggest things she specializes in. So money neutrality is a big conversation for today, but really just the energy of money in general. I am most definitely listening to this episode back because I found it so helpful for myself. Like, that's like one of the best parts about podcasting. You get to talk to really cool people and learn a lot. So I asked all the questions that I felt I was curious to know, because I feel like they are the questions that you want to know. So she said some questions I asked, she's never been asked on a podcast before. So this is definitely very different than anything that she has ever done for an interview. I am so excited for you to hear. All of her contact, as usual, is going to be in the show notes below. So please reach out to her, let her know what you thought of the episode. And if you feel like you're ready for her services, if you want to work with her, shoot her a message. If not, just follow her on social because she's a really cool human. Okay, I will stop talking. Go enjoy the episode. Bye for now. Welcome to the No BS Human Design Podcast. I'm Adriana Keefe, human design coach and motivational speaker. I went through my quarter-life crisis in my 20s and had to learn how to navigate through finding what I was meant to be doing with my life. I refused to believe in the culture that said we were all meant to have the same path and boring careers until we retire and die. And along my journey, I found human design, a system that reveals your energetic blueprint, showing you where and how to access your body's consciousness and how to live as your true self. Human design changed my life, so I started sharing it with others and changing their lives, but we were all finding the same problem: a lack of resources that explain the system in easy and useful ways. So I created this show where we dive deep into the lessons of the human design system without the BS and the noise you find on the internet. Listen in for lessons in human design, finding your purpose, manifestation and spiritual practices, human design within business, and so much more. We connect with other experts in the human design and spiritual realm in a refreshingly honest way to help you find your way along your spiritual path and live this life with intention. It's time to let go of the societal expectations of being and let yourself find abundance through being uniquely you. Let's get started. Okay, guys, I have such a special treat for you today. I have a guest here who I was actually learning from, even though she didn't know who I was. She was within my own human design mentors program, and I just thought she was epic to listen to. And then this is what happens. See, we get curious, we throw it out there, and the universe brings it to us. Someone in her company reached out and asked if we could have a conversation on the podcast. And I was like, of course we can. This is exactly what I needed. So please welcome Elizabeth to the podcast. Elizabeth, I would love for you to take a moment to share who you are.
Thank you. This is about to be really, really amazing. I can tell already, and we can tell already, right? Um, I call myself the spiritual investor. I don't know, that just came to me, I don't know, 7 years ago when I started this business. I was a financial trader for over a decade, so I have a strong background in finance, and I bought my way out of it because as great of a job as it was, I just didn't want to live in the matrix every day. So, and I definitely, like, I remember like partway through going to work, and I had like the high security badge, and you take the elevator up, and it's like as soon as I got in the elevator, I was like, oh my God, there's a part of me that's dying, right?
Yep.
So bought my way out of that, which was really amazing. And then I didn't even plan on doing this. And then someone asked me to help them with their money. I said, no, I don't do that. They said, please, come on, can you help me with my money? I did, and it worked out great. And then really, really shifted their life. And so I thought, okay, universe, it's the sign. And yeah, it kind of all came together. The spiritual investor just, all formed itself together. However, I will say, because I don't like to sit around here and like paint roses for everybody, just because I have, always, like, even my mother was a financial advisor. Like, I literally grew up at the dinner table. My grandfather was an entrepreneur, listening to this language. It's like definitely within me. I feel money, I feel the market, I feel investing. However, that doesn't mean that I'm always making money. That doesn't mean that I don't have money beliefs. That doesn't mean that I don't make decisions that I look back and I'm like, God, I probably could have thought that one through a little bit more. So when I first started my business, for the first 2 years, I didn't make any money. So for people out there, and that surprised me because I was like, wait, how did I go from making six-figure bonuses as a financial trader, and now I'm not making anything? So we do have to go through a transition, but I do believe that a lot of us are building these businesses, especially these spiritually aligned businesses, as part of our own journey to awakening. And that is what I teach people: is how do you build wealth, and how do you also awaken and step into your greater self at the same time, which I know is really in line with what you teach as well when it comes to human.
Mhm. Is that how you ended up in the human design community? Did you find human design or did Emma find you?
I found human design, and then I cannot actually remember how Emma and I met. Oh, we met through a mutual friend. That's right. It's just the thing is when Emma and I met, it was so just aligned and on fire. We talk, almost every day. Like we walked the Camino together. I'm getting
Oh,
ready
I
to
didn't know you did that with her. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
we walked that.
awesome.
Yeah. And then I'm getting ready to go to her house in 2 weeks. So it was just one of those things where Emma and I like, I don't know, we're very similar people. And it's like our lives are so parallel that, and you probably have people like this in your life too, where I translate information through her and she translates through me, and there's no resistance between us because there's just it's you know what I'm saying, there's no gap. And when you can have people around you in your life like that, like she has other people like that and so do I, it's really a practice for how you ideally want to be more like that out into the world, because separateness is actually a money block. Like the moment that we believe that we're separate and that you're over here and I'm over here, especially when it comes to money, what we fall into is we fall into the having to get something. And that's the old paradigm. Making money is the old paradigm. The new world paradigm is receiving. And so that's the big transition that people are making right now. And a lot of people are confused on how to do it. But it really does start in cleaning up our relationships, self-love, the capacity that you have to love. It really all comes back from within. But you can do these practices and you can start to see the money show up in your life, which is magical.
It really is magical. I used to throw that word around like, just because it was a fun word. But now I see magic happen every day. I'm like, oh, this is real. Like magic is real. My kids will ask me when they're watching like a movie, is magic real? And I'm like, yes. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I love it.
Yes.
And for all my listeners, they love to hear what your human design and top three in astrology are. We beautifully have the same human design. Four,
Yes.
six, emotional manifesting generator.
Mhm.
But do you know your top three in astrology?
I just looked it up. This is really perfect. Like just a few days ago, someone asked me, Cancer, would that be the sun? That's the main one.
Yep.
That's like the most okay. And then the other two are the same. The other two are Leo.
Oh, that makes sense. I'm a Leo rising too. I was
Are
like,
you?
why do I just like love her energy? It's because it's like looking at me. That's awesome. Okay. So you went from 2 years of not making any money as an entrepreneur
Mhm.
to then making money. Like, what happened in those 2 years or after those 2 years, I should say?
I stopped fucking hiding.
Yep.
That's really, to be honest, that is the real answer. Like I just stepped into responsibility and stopped trying to do everything right, have it all sounding perfect. Um, I also I joined a 3-day workshop with this Kundalini teacher. Her name's Guru Jagat, and she was based out of LA. Um, I just had a feeling about it. And I think that it's really important to join like intensive things. Like Emma does a beautiful job of these where she has intensive. I think even you have these, don't you? Where you have
I am
intense.
hosting my first one, yeah, in Florida.
Yeah, it's so important because I talk about this concept of breaking the structure whereby like you can't actually do anything new or even be that new version of you unless there's no space, right? So what it does is allows you to completely just, check out of life. And so I ended up attending a 3-day workshop, and I was very connected to this woman, and she just kind of sat me down and was like, do this, do this, do this. And it was kind of like the spirit of God went through me. And I was like, I'm doing this. And I had all of it done that she asked me to do. Well, she gave me four things. I had three of them done in a week and a half, and my business 10x'd within 3 weeks.
Holy shit. What did she have you doing?
Well, they're specific to the actual business. It's not like practice
Yeah.
or whatever. So one of them was a branding thing that I was way off on. Another one was photographs. It was just like the fourth one actually that she asked me to do was, and I didn't do, but I'm doing now, is she asked me, she said, translate the market in a spiritual way. And I was like, oh, I can do that. I do that all day long, da da da. And she's like, why aren't you doing that for other people? I'm like, oh, I don't know, because I'm sitting over here like making piles of money in my own investing account, right? And she's like, hello, right? So that's the not hiding thing, right? It's like we all have this thing that it's effortless, and it's like don't just pick something somebody else is doing. Like you have to literally. So that's what she did. She uncovered the effortless path, and she also called me on my bullshit because she can see auras, and I don't know, but you can or what, I
Yeah.
cannot. And she's like used me as an example in the room. Like everyone who can see auras, look at Elizabeth's aura. Like it's a very wealthy aura, like meant to be here and teach this stuff. And she's like, I want you teaching globally. So now I teach at her institute, which is all over the world too. So
Oh my God, what a full circle thing.
I
That's
know, isn't it
amazing.
amazing? I know, I know. I just went to Spain to do a site location to see because I'm going to teach there. I teach in LA quite a bit. It's really magical. So when something is effortless and it hits you so deep, you really don't need a lot beyond that. Like, I even have a lot of people who they'll listen to my podcast and then they'll just join or something. They're like, I just need to be in your energy. And so, to all your listeners, there are a lot of people out there that feel that from you, but are you giving them that energy? Are you showing that energy? Or are you waiting on something?
I love that. Honestly, if we stopped the conversation right now, that would be a massive game changer for anyone listening. I have to say, you just listing the things like fixing your branding and your pictures is making me feel like even more excited because I'm in the middle of a rebrand. As
Mhm.
I've become more of this embodied version of myself, I'm like, no wonder I didn't like anything like my website or anything because it's not me enough. And everything is in the works and probably end of fall, it'll all come out. And so I'm like, oh, this is going to be so juicy. I can't wait. So that makes me feel extra good about that investment.
Good. I'm so glad. And this was absolutely meant to be. Yeah, she basically told me, she's like, you're not speaking to the people that you're supposed to be speaking to oracally.
Mm.
And once she cleared that up, then I was in alignment with who I should be speaking to. That's why my mastermind fills up because it's just it's more of that level, right? And then it's fun for me too. I mean, it's fun for me to work with everyone, but I do really like investing millions of dollars for people. That's fun too.
Just gonna drop that there. That's awesome. That's amazing. Okay, so you did those that well, I think first of all, you decided to take time and space to figure your own stuff out. I always think that's the biggest because if you're in the everyday busyness of life, you're just still going. And when you don't have that slowness or that quiet or that peace, you can't feel clear about anything.
Mhm,
Part of the reason why we're hosting our retreat for people.
mhm.
So then you do those things with a completely different energy, probably because she saw your aura and was like, hello, you're doing exactly what you need to do. And then after that, did you find yourself bumping into any belief systems that you were struggling with or debt and overcoming that? Or was it just kind of like you were off to the races?
Well, what's going to come after that? What's going to come after your big, like, okay, you've been given like the oracle, you've been given all the answers here, go do something with it. What's going to come after that is, for some people, I think they're going to question it. For some people, they're going to, kind of backpedal a little bit and go, well, maybe I'll do this later. Da, da, da. I didn't do that. That's kind of like a trait I have. I'm just like, kind of like a bull in a china shop. I just kind of move forward with it. Emma has that too. Um, but I tell you what did happen to me is that I had to do a whole bunch of stuff that scared the shit out of me, and I had to do it anyway.
Yep.
I just had to do it anyway. And it didn't make logical sense. And I would say that if the stuff that you're about to do that you think is going to be so radical does make logical sense, I would kind of look at that. Because if it makes logical sense, then it has to be a derivative of the past. Because if your brain understands it, then you've already experienced it.
Ooh, that you have a lot of these mic drop moments. That,
Mm.
yes, 1,000%. So then
Yeah.
how do you know when, and this is something, I mean, as my sixth line, so much trial and error in my, I want to say younger years, but let's face it, I'm still moving through that. There's been so much of like being excited and investing because I'm excited in my future and putting myself into debt that I wasn't being practical about. And
Mm.
because of all of that happening and the outcome not necessarily being what I thought it would be, now I'm moving through paying off all of that debt, worrying about investing in other things. How do you balance that if you have trauma around investing and being that like Leo rising, like, yeah, I'm going to go do this? How do you do that both?
Well, I'm always looking for the effortless path. I like the accelerated path. I like the one that it might scare me a little bit, but I just want to like rip the band-aid off because I want to get on with my life and I got a big impact to have out there. And probably people that are listening feel exactly the same way. So I don't typically go the route of kind of like meandering through a lot of the beliefs and things like that. I kind of take a hammer to it. The reason that we believe that we have to pay off debt or do all these other things before we invest, or maybe it is one is a function of the other, is because we've been taught to believe that. We do not believe that we have to eat lunch and not eat dinner. We do not believe that we have to go out on Friday night and then stay home for the rest of the week. Like we have these things like we live in an and world for all of the things that we've been taught belong in an and world. Investing is not going to derail your plan for paying off debt. However, just about every financial person out there tells you to pay off debt first because it mathematically works. But I know that space. Of course, I took all those financial exams too that they did. But I don't play in that space because I play in the space of energy of money. And I know, and I've seen it over and over again with students coming into the program. They start investing and they pay off debt. They look at it as equal as an and situation. And what happens is, like last year, the market went up 24%. So all the students had big investing accounts. They're still paying off their debt. I just had a student, actually, I had her on my podcast because I was like, I wanted other people to hear her story. She's a stay-at-home mom. She was feeling bad about not bringing money in, but she wanted to contribute to the family. So she joined the spiritual investor and she started learning to invest. Well, she's like, oh my God, my investing account is so big now. I literally sold part of it and I paid off, zeroed out all my debt for my husband and I.
That's
I'm like,
incredible.
I'm like, God, this is what we need to, all of us need to scream from the rooftop. Because if you're not working with me, work with somebody else. But what I'm saying is like, don't sit in the belief that you live in an or world because that has been sold to you and it's a lie.
Ooh. That is, it's such a good point though, because if you can invest a little bit every week or every month into something that has a big potential to grow, then you'd be able to turn that around and pay off debt faster.
Pay off
So,
faster and you feel so great about the investing account. You're building an asset. You go out there to get a loan or whatever, you look better, you feel more secure because that's what people want. They want ease with money, but they don't take the action step to create ease with money. So, we have all these money mindset books and education, and that's great. And it tells you to feel good about money. But if you don't take the action behind it, you're actually in your body, it feels like a lie.
mhm, yep. And so do you think, excuse me, do you think this energy of putting into some sort of actual like tangible investing account with the let's say expectation, because let's receive that, of it growing can be the same that you would take the same energy that you would take and put into investing in something like rebranding your company
Mm.
or a coach or all of that. Can you approach the two with the same energy, with that same ROI kind of expectation?
I think it's more creative and fun not to. You can if you want to, if you want to take kind of like a really passive approach and you want to just say, okay, for every dollar that comes in, every dollar is a gift. I'm going to exponentially multiply this. What is this dollar going to do? You can go general with it if you want to. I think that for really creative people, and that's another thing, is that I want people to know that creative people can do magic with money and you don't have to be good at numbers and be in a spreadsheet all the time. For really creative people, I think it's fun to kind of vision into the difference and feel your way into the difference. So, let's just create like an example that I think might work for people. So, when it comes to debt, typically people have a negative relationship with debt. And so what that does is that's creating a drag on you, right? And that's really it's affecting your whole life, honestly. Like you don't realize how many times you're thinking about that throughout the day.
Yep.
And like we're moving into an era where we're finally realizing that thoughts are form and we have to be responsible for our thought. So your debt is actually not just about the dollar amount. Your debt is literally creating a blanket effect of lack in your life until you actually clean up your relationship with the debt. So that would be one thing. Um, the next thing would be for an investing account when you invest money, it's kind of like the movies where they take the bird and they put the bird out the window and it flies away and they're like, maybe
Mhm.
it'll fly back. You really have to have that. You really have to be in neutrality with that because at least for the way I teach investing, because I teach long-term investing because I want an investing account to support me. Because for me, an investing account is like a second income. At some point, it will be supporting you, and you can not have to go out and earn so much. I don't do day trading, so this example wouldn't work with day trading. But if you're committed to a specific stock and you're like, hey, I want you to support me, then you have to energetically commit to that and you have to leave it alone. You can't go in with your monkey mind and be checking it all the time, be like, oh, my stock's up, pat me on the back. Oh, my stock's down, beat myself up because just because you have a stock that goes up doesn't mean you're a master investor. And just because a stock goes down doesn't mean you've done something wrong. So you have to move kind of away from that. And then in terms of your business, I think the way that you look at investing in your business is almost a function of kind of an overall arching visual plan for the business. The only thing I would say about that is always when you're thinking about money that is coming into the business, always include investing as a non-negotiable, kind of seeing that as just as important as your other costs. Otherwise, you're always just creating a job.
Mm. That's so true. And my retreat partner and I have talked about this a lot because when we first decided to host the retreat, we knew no matter the outcome that there would be a financial investment out of our pocket and that we were okay with whatever we didn't make back because we knew that this was like in our bones, something that would grow us and grow the people who attended it. So I feel that very personally. I think I went through a phase of yay, let's spend. I believe in my future. And then so much restriction because none of it paid off, quote, right away. And then
Mm,
now I'm coming back to that. Well, I see the longer vision now, where it was harder for me to see that before. I wasn't as myself. And
mm,
now I see that vision. I see what these investments will do. So it feels like a good energy when I do and I will say I'm smarter about it now, not as impulsive. I make sure it feels good for my vision. Um, but then you had also mentioned when we were talking before, like practical steps in investing. And something that does not come easily for me is practicality with money. My
mm,
husband and I started a budget this month. And of course, I'm a Taurus and a Leo rising. So everything feels so restrictive for me, but I'm gamifying it. And I'm like, okay, can we get Dunkin's points if we get a coffee on this day? And totally just playing with it. So I'm curious, like, what are practical ways that we can start, whether it be playing with money or investing, that feel easy and maybe help us grow into that neutral space of playing with it?
Yeah. Well, that's great. The example that you gave, that's great. What's important is you have to put your attention on money in a brand new way that you haven't put your attention on it before. Otherwise, the energy of it is not going to wake up. So the energy of your money is like a sleeping giant right now. And you're not gonna become wealthy just doing the same thing that you've been doing thus far, but doing it better. That's the biggest mistake people make is they think, I'll just get better at. Well, no, you have to break the structure. You kind of have to blow it up. And people feel better too when they do that one thing that is kind of like they've been avoiding and they haven't done it.
Yeah.
A lot of times I get a lot of people who are like, I don't want to look at my account because it feels bad, right?
Yeah.
Then they come in and then they do this cash in, cash out, and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so great, right? So it's that. I would say, I would say to answer your question, I would say what do you need to put your attention on when it comes to money that's going to wake up the sleeping giant, which is going to be new, and you have that best answer. And I believe that even when you're listening to this, that answer is going to come to you pretty quickly. So just don't question it, just like I didn't with Guru Jagat. Just don't question it. Just do it. You're not going to die. And you're probably going to look back and go, oh my God, that took me 4 weeks, but I'm still fine, right?
Yep.
So I would say that what goes on the heels of that is money speaks the language of energetic consistency. Money, we have a relationship with money. Money is energy. It's no different than even in a relationship. Like you meet someone and they're inconsistent. They don't call you back. They say things that are inconsistent, right? There's like this whole like discord going on. Well, money feels that. And so it is it's a level of commitment. And I get what you're saying. I buck the system on structure. And that's really a lot of people do, they gravitate towards me a little bit more if they are buck the system kind of people, because I'm more of like the airy, like float around. I don't want to have to do like the same thing on Friday every single time. That sounds horrible to
Hmm.
have to sit down and do that. So the way that I manage my money is I actually did this on the Camino. We were in like a beautiful restaurant and we were in this magical space, and Emma and I'd been walking with our backpacks all day, which we did like 8, 9 hours a day, right? So we'd spent a couple hours talking about stocks. Well, I got to the restaurant and it was so beautiful and so magical, and I had my phone out and Emma's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm buying stock." And she's like, "Give me your phone." So she takes my phone, and then she looks at my investing account. She's like, and I remember she comes like up on the edge of her chair, and she's like, "Holy fuck. Oh my God. Oh my," because the return, and she's like, thought that she was making a good return. And then she's like, I am taking this on with a vengeance, right? That's what she needed. She needed that spark. But it was a high vibe situation. I myself, I'm a creative, so and I want to invite money into that space. That's another thing too, is that you can be creative, but if you don't have a good relationship with money and you haven't like invited it in, then it doesn't get to sit at the table with you at that beautiful restaurant. And it's just gonna, sit over on the side. And how you treat money is how money is gonna treat you.
Mm. And it's even those little tiny everyday thoughts, like you mentioned earlier, if you have this like negative spiraling thought on the debt you have, even if you're not actively thinking about it every day, it's still there. Like I feel like I'm very neutral with debt and I'm just like, cool, it'll just pay off. But when you said that, I realized, oh, but I have this feeling of restriction each day because we are paying off this debt. And I'm noticing that restriction in the moment, even though I'm not logically thinking, oh, I have this debt that's so bad. So I'm just super curious now that I'm aware of that, thanks to you, how I can be more inviting to the energy of money without that. I'm definitely going to rewire that now and see what changes and shifts.
Good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that that landed with you. And that's great because it also, I think it will help people out there in terms of maybe what they're seeing out there too. And everybody can decide for themselves what works for them, of course. But one of the biggest money people out there teaches pay off debt, pay off debt, pay off debt, right? And like your whole life goes around that. You know,
Yes.
you sit down at the dinner table and you talk about it at night, blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, that is completely backwards if you really, really look at the energy of money. Because what you're doing is you're grounding in the identity of someone who has debt and you're literally locking that in so that you're recreating more of that identity rather than disconnecting your relationship with debt, which frees up your identity because you're going to get there faster if your identity is the wealthy person. What would the wealthy person be doing? They would be investing. That's why none of this makes sense to me.
It's so true. I was like, wow, this doesn't make any sense. That's so
Like I can't,
true.
I can't figure out what you people are doing, but I don't teach it that way.
Because every like manifestation teacher out there will tell you, like, be the version of you now, like, be that person now. Even if it's like $5 a week, it's still something, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm,
And then you go out and you see the financial world and it's opposite. And so that's the thing. That's why that's the whole spiritual investor is I bring the two together because there is so much it's literally what I'm doing is I'm bringing two different worlds together that I know and I have lived and played in and created from. I'm bringing those two worlds together, but they're in many cases they're opposite, and that's what confuses people. And that is my job in the world because my mission is to make spiritual people wealthy. Because I know that more money in the hands of people who have greater consciousness is going to change the world. So, by people allowing me to clear up this confusion, they're helping me because I am expanding my energy and my aura and my reach with this as well. And so it's everything that works and everything that's effortless is a win-win situation. And so is this.
mm. So then what would be like a great first step that someone could take listening right now? Maybe they have debt, maybe they just didn't think investing was possible for them. What's something they can start to do?
Well, I would say challenge yourself on the belief that we talked about, which is, that if you have debt, you can invest. I mean, you can buy a stock for the same price as you would spend on a typical dinner. Um, you can buy stocks that are $12, $50, $70. I mean, there's all kinds of great stocks out there. You don't have to go with the Costco or something that is more expensive. But I would say unless you start actually doing it and creating evidence, hey, I have bought stock, I'm an investor, unless you start really living into that identity, which is so easy to do. Anybody can open a free investing account and just go buy the S&P 500 ETF. Just Google that and just buy one of those. Like Vanguard has them, Fidelity has them. It's easy. The point is get yourself started, then worry about it from there. Because I get the number one thing that people say to me when they come in the program is they haven't invested because they don't know how to invest.
Hmm.
I do get that, right? I get that. So what I'm saying is here's the tools to get started on it. Get started, feel your way into that. Reflect back and be proud of yourself on that. And then kind of you'll figure it out from there.
Mm, that's yes, it's such a good point. We tend to be so all or nothing, all black or white in our thinking. And it's if I can't invest a ton of money right now, or if I can't invest weekly or monthly, whatever, then I can't do it at all.
Mhm.
And that's, I think, probably one of the biggest reasons that women in general don't invest. But I don't know if this statistic is true. I was told this a little while ago that women seem to be better investors because we let it sit and we wait, and men like to play
Yeah.
with money. Have you seen that to be true?
Yes, that is women typically don't invest because they're afraid they're going to make a mistake, and so they get themselves in trouble. but because they don't invest. But once they do start investing, I do notice that women are much more fluid with it, much more in flow. Also, to be a good investor, what you really need is you need curiosity, because you're not going to be able to out analyze a supercomputer, right? You can't. It's not like it used to be, right? You have to be intuitive to be a good investor, which is what makes it fun. Um, with men, I do see that they are much more focused on the results. And when you're focused on the results, it's really difficult to not go look up that stock and to look up that investing account. They want to know the numbers and the return and the da 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 da, which is absolutely fine. But I think they can be, I mean, I think everyone can be equally as good investors if they address the thing that is holding them back.
Mm, I feel like that's with everything. What's like that one big fear? How do we
Mhm,
move through this?
mhm.
Yeah, you make it sound so easy. Thank you.
Yes, good, because it is. I really I want people to feel that this is easy because I know that it's a giant it is a huge what do you call it, water crossing that people feel like they don't even have a bridge for. Like they just have to keep waiting and waiting and waiting. I mean, just this year, the market's up 18%. Last year was 24%. I've been preaching this. I've been saying, you guys, do this, do this, do this, right? Um, but that's what it takes. Once you start it and then you start just layering it in with energetic consistency, then you start to show yourself it's not that difficult.
Mm. So, what is it that you do with women or people, if you work with men too, in your group when you're teaching them how to invest? Like, what are you teaching them to do?
Basically starting out a little bit like we started here, except I really go into the energy of money with them at the same time. So if the only thing people needed to do was just go open an investing account and spend $100 and buy a share of stock, if that was the only thing stopping people, then everybody would be an investor. What's stopping people is the energetics, the belief system and all that, as you know, right? So what I do is when they come into the program, I actually start with that. I start with the energy of money, how wealthy people think, and really get them to a place where they are ready to start investing, because it's kind of like I don't want to set them up but in a way that they could fail either. Like I want them to be really confident with that. So that's kind of a little bit of what of my personal thinking that goes into it, is that I think you need to kind of start there, and then we move into the investing, and then we also at the same time we're doing cash in, cash out, some money management stuff. You don't have to like be super detailed with your money management stuff. We have people in the program who love to do it, and they get clear on their money and they want to look at it, every day. And then we have people who don't want to do that. It doesn't really matter as long as you have your investing account, and then you have your business, and then you have your money management. You kind of need to think of them all three in a line, and where's that money flowing between them. And you need to be the leader of that. And that's what a lot of people aren't doing, is that they want more money, but they're not showing up as a leader when it comes to their money. And so that's what I teach them to do. I put them in a leadership position with confidence and ease and fun, because what are we doing out here unless we're having fun? Like, I mean, I think we just gotten to a place where we're not going to do things unless they're fun, and it's not going to be sustainable unless there's creativity and fun in it, and it's not going to feel effortless. So it's like, how do we find that path with money?
And it makes sense why you've been so successful doing this because we weren't taught as women to handle money. We weren't taught any of this. So
Yeah.
it's obvious why we are growing up and we're like, why do I feel so afraid with this? Why do I not know what to do with this? Like, so for anyone listening who is like, I feel dumb because I don't know where to start, we literally were not taught that. I was taught to marry rich. That's what I was told to do.
Yeah.
I didn't marry rich.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's like that. I mean, you just hit it on the head. Like, if you really see that, then you could never beat yourself up.
Mhm. Yep. That's just the way society was. But now we're learning this and we get to teach our kids and the generations underneath us exactly what to do, no matter what their gender, that everyone can hold their own. So thank you for the work that you're doing because this is needed now more than ever, especially with more and more women going off on their own and standing in their power and figuring out what they're doing with their life. The next level that I see them coming to is like, okay, how do I manage this money that I'm now making in this job or in this business that I'm running or whatever it is? So it's like we're watching the rise of women in real time. It's really a cool time to be alive, I think.
Isn't it?
It
I
is.
think that all the time. I know it's
Hmm.
so fun.
It is. It was really fun. I agree. Magical.
It is. It is.
So, where can people connect with you and learn more about what you do?
I'm on Instagram a lot, so it's just Elizabeth Ralph, just all one word. Also, thespiritualinvestor.com would be a great place. We have free stuff there. We have information about the program. We're coming out with a whole new club, which is going to be really,
Oh,
really fun. So
cool.
I would definitely say sign up for the free investing report. I'd say go to thespiritualinvestor.com and do that because that way it keeps you in the loop. And then I have a podcast, the Spiritual Investor Podcast, which is all about the energy of money.
Of course. And for anyone who doesn't know
It's
what an investing report is, do you want to give a
yeah.
quick lowdown on what that is?
Yeah, so what I do is it's kind of three parts. So what I do is I share kind of what I've been doing with my money and just, what's been important in my life. And then I give them a market update. So what do you need to be looking at in the market right now? Just really brief. I kind of like make it concise. What's my interpretation of the market? Um, and we talk about, we'll give you a stock and, get you started on things. So it's kind of like almost like every month you get kind of like a mini little investing starter kit delivered to you.
Oh,
And
that's
people
fun.
people
And
love it.
that's, I like that it's every month because I unsubscribe from everything because my inbox is just too much.
Yes.
Even my
Yeah.
friend stuff. I love you guys. And also my inbox is too much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time. Is there anything that you feel you wanted to tell the listener that we didn't get to?
Uh, um, it's a pivotal time. It's
Mhm.
such an opening right now. And pay more attention to momentum than you do about time because there's really no time. So make your decisions based on momentum and you'll see everything around you change.
I like that. As one of my mentors always says, just collect evidence every day of how you are winning, how everything that you want is making its way to you. I love that.
Exactly. Yes.
Hmm. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you.